Hello and welcome to the Burt Locker. This is Casual's Guide to UFC Vegas 70. If you just want a fun, light-hearted run through with a little bit of information on every fighter on this card, this is the video for you. Stay tuned. So, we've got, starting off in the 155-pound weight division, we've got Eric Gonzalez, the Ghost Pepper, taking on Trevor Peek. Now, 5'11", plays 5'9". No idea on Peek's reach because he hasn't even got a picture on the statistician site for the UFC. Gonzalez has 2 fights in the UFC. He got KO'd by Miller and he got submitted by McKinney. Now they are feeding him to this Peek fella who has not fought in the UFC, but he is 7-0 and they are all knockouts. He got the knockout on Dana White's Contender Series as well. So for me, I think that the Ghost Pepper might actually become a ghost because he's going to get killed by Peek. He's going to get knocked out. Peek by KO. Jose Johnson, 15-7 versus Garrett Armfield in the 135 pound. That's the bantamweight division. 6 foot, plays 5'6". How is Johnson 135 pounds and 6 feet tall? That's crazy. Anyway, it's only a 2.5 inch reach advantage for Jose though. Now Johnson, he is quite long. He has 15 wins, 8 by knockout, so that's not a bad ratio. 135 pounds in all fairness. Now Armfield, he lost his UFC debut, 5 of 8 by knockout. He will be a reach and height disadvantage, and for that reason I think that Johnson's probably going to stay long. Going to see a nice long Johnson, that's what she said, and we're going to see Johnson taking the decision. So Haley All Hail Cohen, terrible nickname, versus Aline Perez from Argentina. This is the female bantamweights. Now, 5'8", plays 5'5", 4-inch reach for Cohen. Cohen largely fought in Invicta. She's fought a bit in LFA as well. She'll have a reach advantage and she'll likely use it. Now, Perez lost her debut by submission. Her nickname is Fiona. It's almost as bad as All Hail, honestly. This is the battle of the terrible nicknames. I don't really know much about either of these two fighters, but I'm going to just pick Cohen, I guess, because she's got the height and reach. It's good a reason as any, right? Rafael Alves taking on Nurulo Aliev. Now, this is another one where we've got an Eastern European wrestler. So we've got 5'8", plays 5'9". No idea on Aliev's reach. Rafael Alves, he's pretty good in the UFC, honestly. He's got submissions over Marcus Diakiese. His only losses in the UFC are to Ismagulov and Drew Dober. They're both very high levels, so there's no shame in either of those, and it just shows the level of competition that he has been fighting. He's a good finisher, 20 wins, 8 by submission, 7 by knockout. That's a good ratio. Now, Aliev, he is one of these Eastern European wrestlers. He's from Tajikistan. He has the danger beard. He's undefeated. 7 wins, all submissions and decisions. 6 decisions, though, so he's not exactly a finisher. He might be a lay and pray guy. I'm going to take the experience of Alves here because the Chechenian fella last week just threw all these undefeated records out of the window, really. They're not all as good as you think they are. I'm going to take the experience of Alves. He's fought much better competition. He's got some pretty good wins. He's got submissions. He's got knockout power. So yeah, I'm just hoping that he doesn't get laid and preyed on in this one. I wish him all the best. Ode Osborne from Jamaica taking on Charles Johnson, the American. Now this is a catch weight, 130 pounds, I believe, from what I can see on the website. Anyway. 5'7", plays 5'9", 3-inch reach for Osborne, even though he's the shorter man. Now, Ode Osborne, he's just a really explosive, spectacular striker. Spinning stuff, flying knees. He's got some great flying attacks. He really is just the epitome of an explosive, fun striker. Great style to watch. Now, Johnson had 3 UFC fights. He's only got 1 loss there to Makayev. Makayev is super legit, so there's no shame in that loss at all. He's got a decent knockout rate, 50%. He also has 3 submissions on his record. I'm going to take Ode Osborne in this one, but only because really it's more that I want to see him win, because he's just, I've seen him in so many battles where he's thrown some really great techniques and almost got on the finish and then ended up losing. I don't know, I'd quite like to see a highlight knockout win for him because it's on the cards. He really is fun to watch. Joe Solecki taking on Carl Deaton, 155 pounds, 5'9", plays 5'6". Solecki has been around a fair bit. He beat Jim Miller. He's a very high Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, is Solecki. Now, Carl Deaton has one of the worst haircuts I've ever seen, and that is coming from me. Like, I'm not one to talk about bad haircuts, but I'm putting a picture up here because he hasn't got a picture on the UFC site, but I did find a picture on ShareDog. That is god awful. What are you thinking, dude? Joe should get the submission here just because of that haircut alone. Come on, man. Anyway, Jordan Leavitt, 10-2, taking on Victor Martinez. Now, Jordan Leavitt, this is 155 pound weight division. 5'9", plays 5'8", 1 inch reach for Leavitt. Now, Leavitt is an excellent grappler. His stand-up isn't great. He's a BJJ purple belt, but he's very athletic, and that really helps him when it comes to the grappling. He's very, very good at keeping positions, especially in utilising his legs. He's the lad that fought Paddy Pimblett 2 fights ago, the one before Jared Gordon. I've always said that Leavitt, he won one fight by brutal slam. And he's just got this weird way about him. The interview after, it's like, he could be a serial killer. He could definitely be a serial. He seems so nice, but he's got this weird darkness in his eyes. Like, he could have frozen heads in his freezer very, very easily. Now, Martinez, his opponent, he's actually 13-4. They've got him down at 1-0, but he's 13-4, 8 knockouts, 5 submissions. He is a finisher. He's very, very good at finishing. Now, he's not fought the level that Leavitt has, but standing, Leavitt, he just leaves too many openings. He leaves openings all over the place. So a man with a decent punch and 8 knockouts on his record should have a good night against Jordan Leavitt. So I think Victor Martinez for that one. I'll take the knockout. You've got Jasmine Jusadavicius versus Gabriela Fernandez, Brazilian. You've got it's the women's flyweights, this one. So 5'7", plays 5'6". I've got no idea on either of these two, honestly. Jasmine, she's Canadian. She's 1-1 in the UFC. Both of them were decisions. Now, Fernandez has been nowhere near the UFC. So much so that they have her down as 0-0. But in reality, she's 8-1. But against who and in what promotion? It's all very, very sketchy. I will roll the dice on the Canadian just because she's got a little bit of a more legitimate record. And that's literally the only reason. Mike Malott, 2-0 versus Johan Lanesi, Canadian. Lanesi? Anyway, 6'1", plays 5'11", 2 inch reach for Lanesi. Malott is actually 8-1. They've got him down at 2-0. He's 8-1. He's a finisher because he's got 8 wins, 4 submissions, 4 KOs. But against who and with who? Johan is the White Lion, 9-1. He tends to defer to his strikes. He's got a decent knockout rate, 6-9. Mike Malott is he has more ways to win this one. So I'm going to roll the dice on the submission for Mike Malott just because largely Johan is a striker, and if we see him get put on the floor, it might be the path of least resistance for Mike Malott. So Tatiana Suarez now takes on Montana De La Rosa. This is the women's flyweights. 5'5", plays 5'7", with a 2 inch reach for De La Rosa. Both are really easy on the eyes. I am not going to pretend otherwise. They're both very good looking ladies. I'm a big fan. Now, Suarez, interestingly, she hasn't fought since 2019, but she fought some really good people. She's like a free-weight Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style of fighter. Brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but she's just very good at going after those submissions. Her MMA grappling is very, very good. She submitted Alexa Grasso, who is actually fighting for the title just in a couple of weeks' time, I believe. She also TKO'd Carla Esparza, and we know how good Carla Esparza, like her or not, she is a championship-level fighter. So the fact that Suarez was beating those people before she had a bit of a layoff, that's a real testament. De La Rosa has not had quite the same success, but she's also a BJJ brown belt, and she gets submissions a lot as well. She attacks the submissions very well. Again, her MMA grappling is very good. I'm not sure she's going to be good enough to get Suarez. I do like Suarez in this fight. I like the submission. Maybe it'll be either way. It'll be nice to see her back and her front, quite frankly. Yeah, I'm a fan. I am a fan. Anyway, Augusto Sakai taking on Don'Tale Mays, 265 pounds, the heavyweights anyway. We've got 6'3" playing 6'6" with a 2-inch reach for Mays. Now, Sakai, he's just very hit and miss in that he swings and he misses quite a lot of the time. And then he gets battered. 4 fights in a row, in fact, he's been knocked out. I think he just needs to stop at this point. And plus, Mays is a giant. He's got big power. He's got good elbows. We saw the elbows against Parisian. He won by TKO in that one. For me, Sakai, look, he gets hit way more than he should. Way more than anybody should. He just gets hit so much. And Mays is a big lump. So I'm just taking the KO for Mays. Not because I think that Mays is good, but I just think that Sakai his striking defense is woeful, frankly. Andre Muniz taking on Brendan Allen. Now, I'm a big fan of Muniz. This one is in the middleweight division. So you've got 6'1", playing 6'3" with a 3-inch reach for Muniz. Now, Muniz is a submission wizard. Really nasty. If he gets hold of you, it is over. He's undefeated in the UFC. He broke Jacare Souza's arm. He does have a bit of Muay Thai as well, but he's usually much more keen to take you down and pull one of your limbs off. That's what he goes for. Brendan Allen is also a very, very good submission guy, though. Really good. Savage, in fact. He got Holland with a rear naked choke. He got Robertson with a leg lock. He is extremely high level. I don't know if he's going to be high level enough to take on Muniz, but that's where this one gets interesting. Who is going to come out on top if this goes to the ground? I genuinely don't know. Both of them are extremely high level on the ground, and it's going to be so fun to watch this play out, especially on the feet. On the feet, I think they're pretty even. On the ground, I think they're pretty even. I'm liking this one for fight of the night. I'm a really big fan. It's a coin toss, honestly. I'm going to lean towards Muniz just because he's got a real mean streak when it comes to just snapping those arms and legs. So that's what I'm going to go for Andre Muniz in that one, but with no confidence whatsoever. Great fight that, though. Great matchmaking. Really looking forward to it. Nikita Krylov taking on Ryan Spann. 6'3", plays 6'5", 2-inch reach for Spann. Krylov is he's a grizzled vet. Look at his face, man. Look how weathered and beaten down he is. That dude is 30 years old. He looks 50. I'm kidding. He's not 30. He must be at least 40, though. Look at him. He's just a weathered, grizzled old lion. Very high level grappling. Excellent submissions, really great submissions, top control, and on the feet he's just tough, and he just bites down the mouthpiece. He just throws back. I really admire the way he fights. Now Ryan Spann, he's been up and he's been down. He's got very good power. He's quite long and he fights long pretty well. He's got very good striking in general. Look, he can sometimes get caught out in the grappling. He is a blue belt himself, but I feel like Krylov's just going to be far, far better on the ground. And we've seen Ryan Spann get exposed on the ground previously. Now, Ryan Spann, he looked great against Ion Cutelaba and Dominic Reyes in his last 2 fights. But with the greatest of respect, both of those two, right, who hasn't looked great against them lately? Like Ion Cutelaba and Dominic Reyes. They're not exactly in their peak of form, are they? With the greatest of respect. So, yeah, for me, Krylov, he might be too much for Spann here. I think Krylov, he's just too tough in every area. He's very tough. That might go against him because he might end up eating some shots and just end up getting overwhelmed. But I feel like he's just a much better grappler than Spann. If he gets this to the ground, I think he's going to overwhelm Ryan Spann and he'll find the submission. So that is the entire fight card. I'm going to do a couple of deep dives into some of the fights, probably Muniz versus Allen and Krylov versus Spann. And yeah, so until next week, when I'll do a recap of these, we'll see how all my predictions came off. If you could do me a favour, hit subscribe. That'd be really appreciated. And yeah, until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.